Welcome to the Filmological Society, brought to you by Redacted Media and 6.5 Media. In today's episode, we count down the 100 greatest comedies according to the BBC. And now, here are your hosts, Kris Schulz and Chad Halvorsen.
Welcome to another podisode of the Filmological Society, the Countdown Show, where we are counting down the top 100 comedies of all time according to the BBC. I am one of your hosts. I am Kris Schulz, and with me, as always, is Chad Halvorsen. Hello, Chad. How are you?
Hi, Kris. I am doing okay. How are you?
All right. Well, that's good. That's on the positive side. Okay.
I feel like okay is kind of like middle.
Yeah, it is, but it's just,
half empty, half full.
Just it's like 51%. I mean, if you said I'm doing all right, that's like 49%. Like they're very similar. They're just right in there. That's how I view it. It's a scale.
No.
It's a scale. So here today we are counting down. We're in smack dab the middle third of our list here.
We've been doing this for so long.
We have been, but we are 41. And this is the second longest title of a film to ever be nominated for any Oscar.
What was the
I don't know,
first
but I know that this was the second one. That's the only thing that matters.
Don't come at me with your movie facts if you're not going to do all the research.
Back it up. Just going to state things and not have anything. Yeah, I'll find that out eventually, I'm sure. Let's see. Our listeners can put it in the comments. And we're on Stitcher now. We're on all these different places that people can find podcasts. So,
interact with us, people.
Yes. So this film, number 41, came out in 2006, directed by Larry Charles. It is Borat, Cultural Learnings of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan. Or Borat.
I wasn't working at the theater when this came out, so I didn't get the chance to see it 1,000 times in the theater like I used to with a bunch of films that came out earlier in the 2000s. But man, do you remember when this movie came out and how big of a deal it was?
I do. So I will say, I wasn't at the time. I wasn't a big Sacha Baron Cohen fan, because this is a Sacha Baron Cohen film. This was, I think, maybe his second film. I'm not sure if he had.
Didn't he do an Ali G one before that? And he
had was on MTV or HBO. He had a show, and that's where
Ali G show.
Yeah, that's where a lot of these characters came from. And I was not really a fan. I'll admit I didn't really watch it at all, but from what I saw, I wasn't really a fan of his. For whatever reason. I mean, maybe it's just like the Ali G and just, I'm like, that doesn't really do it for me. But, I remember when it came out because I remember everyone. This is like,
Halloween for the next 10 years.
For the next 10 years, people quoting it.
It's a nice.
High five.
High five. My wife.
Yeah, like it was very Austin Powers, like the power of quoting that came from this, that almost ruined anything for this film.
And now remember, this is post 9/11, pre-COVID, so there were still water coolers, and we were still going to work,
and we were still high-fiving.
And we were still high-fiving with no masks.
No masks at all. That film came out. After that was the follow-up, so there was a sequel. Yeah, and we'll talk about the sequel.
Good.
But yeah, so I do remember watching this film. I did not see it in the theaters. I watched it later just because it had.
How could you not?
Yeah,
it was so in the zeitgeist that year.
So I had to see it, and I watched it, and I enjoyed it, but. I will say, my mind, I was, this came out 2006, so I was, in my 20s, and it was just in a different place for me, and so, watching it then versus watching it now, or in the 10 years, or whatever, Like it hits a lot harder. Like it's a much better crafted film, and I have much more respect for Sacha Baron Cohen and what he can do. Like it's crazy to me that he can commit this far into a character.
Yeah, because some of these scenes are set up like they're traditional. Hey, we hired actors, blah blah blah. But the stuff that's like interacting with the crowd when he goes out and sings the Kazakhstan national anthem,
talking about
to
potassium,
like that's a real reaction from a bunch of rednecks in Texas, and when this film came out, there were a lot of rumors, I remember, but there were a lot of stories, of him getting sued by these people, like the kids on the trailer. Yeah, they tried suing him.
Oh yeah, everyone tried suing him because
hey, you made me look bad.
Yeah,
you made people think I was racist and stupid,
even though I totally am.
Yeah,
because so the police were called on him 92 times during
on
the
this
production
film alone.
Of the film. Yeah, during the production of this film.
Holy shit.
And there was even an FBI team assigned to Sacha Baron Cohen during the filming because of all the calls and reports of a Middle Eastern man traveling the Midwest in an ice cream truck. So he had his own FBI team assigned to him.
And I know there's a ton of behind the scenes stuff with this. The one thing I do remember, and this is without looking up facts about this film, that's how much I like this film. They're not speaking Kazakhstan language. They're speaking Yiddish.
Well, he is.
Yeah, him and his partner.
Well, his partner is speaking Armenian.
Is he?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's speaking Armenian because that's his natural.
And they're literally just speaking gibberish to each other, and then they throw in captions.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there were only 4 actors in this film that knew what was going on. Everyone else. So you had the two. You had Borat and Azimat, his agent, I guess. And then you had Luanel, the prostitute, and Pamela Anderson. Those were the only 4 people in this film that knew what was going on.
Credit to Pam Anderson for committing to that.
Committing to it, not telling her bodyguards.
No.
Who beat him and tossed him to the ground pretty hard.
The reaction from, it must have been either an employee it was a Virgin record store. This is how old this movie is. It was either somebody that worked there or maybe a personal assistant. And when he puts the bag over her and tackles her, she does a double take I don't believe it. She looks away and looks back oh no.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I give so this film, let's just go through the let me go through the plot quick together and then we'll take a break. So this film, Borat is a journalist from Kazakhstan, one of the more successful ones. He shows off his village, but he's given the assignment to go to America and to basically, I think his initial assignment was to go to New York.
They were supposed to go to New York and just learn about being American.
Yep. And then he falls in love with Pam Anderson and decides we need to go to Los Angeles.
So they turn it into this road trip to go across America and, really get into the meat and potatoes of what it's like being American. He learns how to drive. He learns
comedy
etiquette. Comedy. He learns etiquette for going to a dinner party. But all these things, as Borat, he's playing a person that is supposed to basically our presumption of what a foreigner looks like and how a foreigner would act. Well, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, and it's post 9/11, so the anti-Muslim movement in America was at its strongest. And he's, not from a Muslim country, I don't believe, but he is in the area of, Kazakhstan is formerly part of the USSR, but it borders on, it's close to the Middle East. So, it's, and
people assume if it ends in Stan, that it's in the Middle East, even though this is Central Asia.
Yep. And and people assume if they look a certain way that they're Muslim.
Yes.
And, and that's brought up into the film too, where someone is talking to Borat and saying, you need to shave your mustache. You look like one of those Muslims. And like, everyone hates you here because of how you look.
And again, this isn't a scripted moment in the movie. This is a real person talking to what he thinks is, a Middle Eastern guy. And he's like, hey, if you want to be American, shave that shit off, terrorists do that. And and this is weird. I don't know how many films we've had on this list where we haven't had any films like this on the comedy list, have we?
No. This is like commitment to a role. And this is like at the edge, the very far edge of like what improv can do if you become this committed to a role.
True. And it's funny because it's true and it's sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you're not laughing out loud funny because, you are, because Borat can be goofy, but like you're laughing awkwardly at the reactions of, people that are supposed to be a part of my country. And it's sad. It's funny. It's, it makes you angry. It's weird.
It's an awkward comedy because of that. Like, yeah, it's, I think that's one reason why when I first watched it, I didn't like it as much, because it was awkward. There were definitely parts that were funny when I watched it the first time, but there were more parts that it's like, oh, you kind of, that's not really nice to those people, or I don't like that. Like, I'm not a big fan of like practical jokes that just go too far, that they're really not funny anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're just embarrassing the person, and they have to laugh or else they're going to be laughed at even more.
Mm-hmm.
And when I watch it, I'm like, he's kind of doing that. But really, he's not. He's just getting people comfortable and getting people talking to him. And they're just saying what they really think.
Yeah. And I going back to the people that tried suing him, I don't remember if anybody actually successfully got a lawsuit, anywhere near a judge. But like, he was acting as a character.
Yeah.
And people perceived it to be real. So their emotions and the reactions are real. So, and you can't sit there and tell me, well, like, oh, well, he tricked me. It's like, no, he didn't trick you. Like, this is who you are.
Yep. And you signed a waiver.
Yeah. Also, you signed a fucking waiver. Signed a waiver. I will say, when this came out, I wasn't on the train where I like quoted this movie all the time, because that happened real quick. Within like 2 weeks, everybody was saying nice. Mm-hmm. So I knew that was annoying right away. Yeah. But I appreciated this movie because it was 2006. I was very heavily anti-George Bush at this point in my life. Seems to be a cool guy now for some reason to some people. Does a lot of art. Anyways. And I was already going through because I grew up in a medium small town, not small town, just like a smaller area, not in the metro area, around Catholics, around people who would act like this if Borat came to my town.
Yeah.
So it not that this movie like converted me into a super liberal or whatever, but it was just nice to see like, oh man, I know people who are like this and would totally fall for this shit.
It was, yeah. There.
Sorry. Can I take that back real quick? They would fall for this.
Yes. It was very. It's very eye opening, right? Because it's a very uncomfortable look at America, and it's not an American that is criticizing Americans, or even a foreigner that's criticizing Americans. It is Americans saying what's on their mind, just regular old Americans. So it's not even, we're not looking at George Bush, or we're not looking at the leaders. There were some politicians that were in here, but for the most part, it's just, just kind of a opening up the curtains on America. Let's I
was gonna say, should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break, and I think we should dive into this a little bit more.
Sure. How would Borat go to a commercial?
How would he?
How would you say it?
You have an idea?
Tell me, Borat. We got to go to commercial.
Hey, Borat, we have to go to commercial.
Oh, it's nice. See, it works for everything.
Yes.
Psst, hey you, come over here.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Okay.
Hey, do you like Zelda?
Yeah, I like Zelda. Who doesn't?
Oh yeah? You like video games?
Yeah, I dabble, I play them, yeah.
Yeah. Do you like listening to people talk about video games?
Of course I like listening to people. Who reads anymore?
Well, buddy, do I got a podcast for you. It's called Fan Fiction, with an X.
Oh.
And you can find it on all your major podcast distributors.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, buddy, you have no idea.
One question, though. Why are you in my room?
Jake, have you ever been looking for a definitive Nintendo ranking and can't seem to find it because it's just everybody's own opinion?
Honestly, all the time, Sam.
Well, I'm looking for someone to give us the answers.
Wait, you mean like a podcast made by two young, handsome men where they create a definitive top 5 list of all things Nintendo?
Should we just do it ourselves?
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Let's give it a shot. I'm Sam.
And I'm Jake.
And at Top 5 Nintendo, I'm going to give you my top 5 list.
And I'm going to give you my top 5 list.
And then we're going to duke it out and see what the real top 5 is.
All right, and we're back. So let's dive into this a little bit more. I really thought, and this goes to what you were just talking about before break, but yeah, it's really, and if you really break this film down, it's a very uncomfortable analysis of who we were as a country, or who part of us were as a country in 2006. The bus trip the trip that Boris took, because most of it was done in a dilapidated ice cream truck, was from New York down to D.C., and then he kind of went through the Carolinas. He went through Georgia, Louisiana, the Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, through. So he's hitting the deep South, basically.
Not America.
Yeah, the very deep South. And at the time we had a Texan that was our president in George W. Bush. And, again, this is post 9/11, so the anti-Islamic hate is high. And yeah, it's just, you get the different look. So he when he's in New York, he does kind of do things like he's not just poking one type of bear. He's not just poking the elephants. He's poking the donkeys as well. He meets with a bunch of feminists in New York.
It's so, like, it's uncomfortable to watch. If I was watching that and I didn't know Borat was a character,
yeah.
I would be offended too.
Oh yeah.
But knowing that he's playing a bit and he's like literally pushing the buttons he knows that are going to piss him off.
Yep.
One woman like walks out. It's like,
She's like, we're done.
This is not uncommon.
Yeah, we're done.
Like, we're done.
Yeah. And only one of the out of the 3 women, one of them she's like, yeah, I'd recommend everyone to watch this film. The other 2 wouldn't even watch it, which is fine. I mean, if I was in their place, I would be offended, but I think when really looking down to it, like he was pushing things that people in this country and around the world actually believe, like, oh, men's brains are bigger than women, so that's why men are smarter than women, and like those things that used to be pushed that some people still believe, and it's still out there, which is crazy.
Well, and I feel like comedy's really well, or works really well with politics, in my opinion. Yeah. It's like one of my favorite things.
Yep.
But they're not mutually exclusive to being Democrat, Republican, left, right, libtard,
right,
Republican, redneck. It's if you can make fun of one side, you can make fun of the other. Yep. And the fact that he did that, knowing exactly how they probably were going to react. I still love like the one that probably said that she recommended it. Like she at least tried to sit there and explain, instead of the other 2 who are rightfully so hostile. Like I can't blame him for being mad.
Oh yeah.
That he was acting like that. But I'm trying to think of another instance. Oh yeah. The dinner party. They keep cutting back and forth between Borat talking to a specialist. It's always like him, an etiquette consultant. Yeah. And he's like, well, should I bring photos of my family? And she's like, oh yeah, that'd be nice. And he was like, well, can I bring photos of my, and he pulls out this photo of his son and, a picture of them together. And it's really nice. And then he pulls out the next one and it's him pointing at his dick. And he's like super proud of it, and it's a Polaroid, and you see her like, oh well, I maybe wouldn't show that one. Maybe you should just keep the photos at home. He always will cross a line.
Yep.
And then most of the time people will be like, okay, maybe don't do that. Like it's that Midwestern nice is what I call it, where it's like, okay, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but let's not take it that far, And it's just a bunch of moments like that. And then eventually it boils over to where people either figure out what's going on, or they get so angry because they think it's real that apparently the cops are called 90 something times.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I mean, I know that many of the cameras were hidden. So like, you may know, you may know that there's some filming going on if you see all these camera people and all these production staff and all that. Mm-hmm. But most of the time it's hidden cameras that are being used for this film. And there's not the whole crew there. There's not everyone else there that is to set it off. So yeah, so you see a weird looking guy in a mustache driving an ice cream truck.
An unmarked
ice cream truck.
Ice cream truck. Like, it doesn't get any more creepy than that, especially in America.
Yeah, and I like this film was also criticized for at first for being anti-Semitic. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of
all right, for a setup in the beginning where he talks about like, Kazakhstan and what he does there, they show clips of him. So Spain has Running of the Bulls.
Yeah.
So in Kazakhstan, in this version, they have Running of the Jew.
Yep.
And again, you laugh at it because he's being so overtly racist and awful with it. You're laughing at the absurdity of it. But yeah, I mean, it's racist, but in the context of the film, this cis white man thinks that it's funny because they're pointing out how, dense and obtuse Borat's character is supposed to be.
And there's also a scene where they stay at a bed and breakfast of a very nice.
Oh, that couple! I
Jewish
love
couple.
that scene. Every time I watch that scene, they're adorable.
Yeah, and there's like this nice little shot when they find out that they're Jewish, and both Borat and Asimov are like, and they're being very careful what they eat because they think it's going to be poisoned, and at night they're throwing money at a shadow from a cat, and they run out. But also Sacha Baron Cohen was raised, he's raised Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
His mother is from Israel.
Yep.
So I mean, in some regards, like that's, like Mel Brooks would have a lot of humor about being Jewish or about the Jewish people,
Gentiles and Jews. Yeah, totally.
In his movies, and I think he was able to, do that because he's Jewish, and does because in the end it's the concepts that Borat and Asimov and others have about Jewish people that are wrong. The Jewish people themselves obviously aren't doing anything wrong, and at the end of the film they got rid of the running of
the Jew. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're civilized now.
Well, and it's also a parallel to the film itself, where Borat's going around trying to learn how to be American, and people are assuming things about him being a Muslim even though he isn't, or he's a terrorist even though he isn't. He's dense and he's racist and he's sexist, but the movie just showed me so are we.
Yeah.
So
Yep. It puts a big mirror to America.
I always like those types of movies.
Yeah.
I mean,
and again, they're to me, they're very uncomfortable.
Which is supposed to be.
But they're supposed to be. I mean, we're, nobody's perfect. We're not a perfect country. We're and
no country is. Like that should be said too. Like, it's not like America invented slavery and racism. Europe. Right. Western Europe. I mean, and even before them, they didn't even, it's
been around.
It's always been
and it's just, when you see a film like this and it really can open eyes, hopefully get discussion going more than just, it's nice and quoting it.
Or the people are like, oh, this is just trash and he's, being racist, or, hey, we're being made fun of. It's like, no, like, come on.
Well, I think one of the problems with a film like this, though, too, is that people learn the wrong lessons. It's kind of like Fight Club.
Yeah. Or freaking, it's one I always hate, Tony Montana. Scarface. Like, these are all great movies, but Scarface isn't about like hoarding all the cocaine and killing people and going into the mafia life. Yeah. Like, it's a gritty story about the rise and fall.
It's about a guy and his little friends.
Yeah. Say hello to them.
Yes, they're very nice, very kind friends.
But yeah, these people can definitely take the wrong thing from any movie, I would argue.
Oh,
but
absolutely, and I think that can happen with this if people are quoting it too much and they're quoting the wrong parts. And that's why I like the practical joke movie. It's there isn't necessarily lessons to be learned in that. It's just you're kind of making fun of somebody in a situation.
Yeah,
and if that's what people are going into this film thinking it's about, I think they'll be. I do think that they are very, very wrong in that case.
Mm-hmm.
So this film is banned in many countries, including most of the Middle East.
Nice.
I think Lebanon is one of the few countries that played it. Most of the other Middle Eastern countries have banned it.
What about Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan? Like, what do they think of it? You didn't look up those facts, did you, Kris? Did you even look up Turkmenistan?
I will say that the countries and the cultures that are around that country, they were not comfortable with this film either.
They were not happy
They tried
at first.
suing through Germany to get the film.
That's right. But didn't he went back and tried to smooth it over, didn't he?
He did, yeah. I think he went back to Kazakhstan and did some things to try to make it better. The most uncomfortable part, though, is that at the end of the film they have a fake national anthem that plays over the end
Yeah,
credits.
Kazakhstan, number one importer of potassium.
I'm not sure if people are looking it up on YouTube or whatever and finding it, but there've been a couple like Olympic level events where that song has been played.
Yes.
And the organizers not knowing that, that's not I thought that was I thought that was it.
God, this movie. We haven't talked about the sequel yet.
No, we'll get there. We'll get there.
I love how this movie is still affecting the world. Like, not in major ways like it did when it first came out, but it's still like the fact that that fake anthem gets played at sporting events because people are too, I mean, I shouldn't say too stupid. Like, you can go on the internet like, hey, what's the Kazakhstan national anthem?
Yeah.
And I'm sure some troll out there has tagged it that way.
I'm sure. I mean, even for maybe even the crew for this film did that.
True.
So
True.
I will say, here's a review from a Kazakhi tabloid newspaper called The Caravan.
Is this from when it came out?
From 2006, yeah.
Okay.
They said it was the best film of the year. A reviewer saw it in Vienna because it wasn't played in their country. And the paper said it's certainly not an anti-Kazakh or Kazakh film, anti-Romanian film, or anti-Semitic film, but rather cruelly anti-American, amazingly funny, and sad at the same time.
Yeah. It's exactly what it is. Because, they set up like Borat's from this really small town, what we would consider probably in America a shithole. Sorry. What we in America would probably consider not to be the best place to live.
Yes. I mean, the president called some countries that. Former president called some countries.
Former presidents.
So I think it's you can say that word now.
I can. Okay. I wasn't sure. I'm trying to 6'5". I'm trying to tone it down a bit, but it's set up that he comes from a place that it's
a little backwards.
I would never live there.
Yeah, it's a little backwards. His sister is the second best whore in all town.
Yeah, he has a jealous neighbor.
Yep.
I get clock radio. He can the 4 o'clock radio. Man. I can't believe I'm doing Borat impressions again. Like,
it's hard not to when you watch it.
It's hard not to.
He really is an infectious character. So that town, by the way, is in Romania. It's called Glod, Romania, and they actually also took legal action against the film for how they were.
We want more money.
Well, they were also portrayed as being incestuous and ignorant, and some said they were only paid about $1.28 for their part. Well, others said it was more like $70 to $100, which still didn't cover their expenses. But they were seeking $38 million in damages, which, had they won, even in 2006, that would have helped that town out.
Yeah, no shit. I'm wondering if I don't know. He seems like the type of guy that, especially after how this movie blew up, I wonder if there was something settled, out of court. Like, hey, sorry, here's some money.
And I don't know how often, even if releases, I imagine this happens a lot for films similar to this, where it's low budget films where you're just going out and you're getting people to sign releases and all that, and all of a sudden it's a huge hit.
Mhm.
People are like, I should get some of that, even though they've signed a release.
Yeah, I would assume the producers on here had their stuff together. Jay Roach helped produce this. Dan Mazer, these are names like I didn't know at the time, but watching the credits, I'm like, oh, I know these people.
Well, and it's a Fox film, so Fox, they know how to protect themselves from lawsuits. Being that they are a very big movie studio at the time, they've since been purchased by the movie studio and television studio have been purchased by Disney since this came out. So Borat's in the Disney universe. Yeah, he is. And the film right now is on Hulu. It's on Hulu. It's part of Hulu, which is. That's how I watched it. Which is all of basically all of Disney films where they can't put them on Disney Plus because they're R-rated.
Yeah. So. which is weird because when I last watched this, I watched it before the sequel came out, and it was on Amazon, and then I went there to watch it this time, and they moved it. I'm like, oh man, don't tell me this is a movie I had on DVD, and I watched a bunch of times. Don't tell me I have to pay for a movie that I paid for 15 years ago, but luckily Hulu had it.
Yeah.
So Borat could be in Avengers, what you're saying.
He could, like in the Deadpool level, because a little bit grittier.
Oh yeah. He couldn't be the PG-13.
No, he couldn't be. But yeah, I mean, and there were some deleted scenes from this film.
I probably watched them years ago.
Yeah, so some of them were very hard to find. Like you had to on the DVD, you had to put in. Go through the menu in a certain way to find them.
Yep.
And sometimes they would yell at you for being a gypsy or
nosy.
being something like and doing things. So there was one where they're trying to protect themselves from the Jews. So they got a bear, but they're also trying to get adopt a dog that would protect them from Jews.
Mm-hmm.
There were scenes of different police interactions.
Oh, I bet there's a lot of them.
Yep. And those all had to be taken out because once they found out it was a satire film, a lot of like the prisons or police were like, no, we're not going to release that.
Yeah. One thing I did notice, and I've watched this movie a bunch of times in my youth, when Borat gets to California and meets Asimov and they go back to his hotel.
Yeah.
He opens the fridge.
Yes.
And the bear's head is in the fridge. And I never noticed that before.
I love that.
I laughed out loud. I was like, aw. Asimov probably got hungry on his way to California.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that little bit of just.
It was never like nobody says anything. Like nobody talks about what happened to the bear. The bear's just gone.
Yep.
And I never thought of it
took
back
the bear.
then.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. So there were some scenes too that I remember seeing on the trailers. Mm-hmm. So like where Borat is at a grocery store and he's asking, he keeps asking where the cheese section is. And the owner's pointing to like the big, huge American wall of cheese and saying, that's cheese. And like, no, where's the cheese section? Just the cheese. Yeah, and there is a rodeo scene that's in the film, but they don't show the basically the them like basically Sacha Baron Cohen running for his life afterward.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like his version of he sang the Kazakh national anthem that he made up in the style of the American national anthem song, so to the tune, and that did not go over too well with the rodeo crowd.
You think it would? like rodeo crowds love improv.
Yeah, you would think so. All right, so let me ask you a couple of things. So of this one, what was your favorite scene?
I'd still say the whole interaction between him and the bros in the RV, because when that came out, that was around my age, and I knew bros like that. And like that was the moment where I'm like, oh, I know, I went to high school with a few of these guys, like type situation. Like that one guy that's like kept telling Borat, don't let a woman like never ever 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 let a woman rule your life or something like that. And I'm like, man, we're so screwed. I think that's like, this movie gave me a good amount of cynicism that I would need later in life.
And I just love the dichotomy that the film then like earlier in the film, Borat and Asimov get lost and they end up in what looks to be a very dangerous part of an inner city. And they roll up to
it's a group playing dice. And they seem like the nicest people. And he's acting goofy. And he's like trying to like pick up,
American slang,
how to be like them, slang, and they're making fun of them, but they're also like, having a good time with them. And I don't know, it's those moments too. The storyline with him going back to the prostitute and
bringing her back to.
Like it's a nice touch, especially with all the racism within this movie.
Well, I think what the scenes that remain the funniest, like just his interactions with some of the people who are being filmed. They know they're being filmed, but they think they're being filmed for a Kazaki, news show. I think some of those are the funny. So you get the guy who's coaching them how to be funny, which is so like ridiculous how bad that is.
That suit is black knot.
Yeah. That suit is not black. And where he brings that not joke back all the way at the end of the film.
Oh. So good.
But the one where he visits I think in Tennessee, he stops at a morning news show and just walks and just causes havoc. And then there is the fancy dinner scene, the part where he excuses himself to go to the bathroom.
And
he comes back with a bag tied and like, where do I put this?
And he shat in the bag.
And
is wondering where you can throw it away.
The host, I think she's the hostess, but she's defending him. She's saying he's learning, he's trying so hard, he's doing so good. And that's the moment where she just kind of turns on him and just like, no, you need to get out. Like that.
She turns on him. Yeah, when he brought a black prostitute over, well, they didn't even know she was a prostitute. He brought a black woman over, and they're like, "Oh no, we gotta go. We're done."
Yeah, that or the awkward look on the congressman's face, Bill Barr, I think he talked to, and he brought him some cheese. His wife made the cheese from her teat.
Oh yeah,
and just his look as he's like been eating that cheese and just like,
Yeah, it goes from like, oh yeah, this is whatever, I'll eat it.
Yeah,
it's from her tit. Yeah. Like
it's human cheese.
Yeah.
So I thought those were funny then, and I still think they're funny now, just because it's reaction and it's. But I got to give a lot more credit to Sacha Baron Cohen after seeing this film, and
this film made me go see all his other movies, whether they were good or not.
Yeah, so he had
two. The Dictator.
what?
Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno, which was terrible.
Yeah, it was not great.
Ali G, which I think he's a character. I don't like his character.
Yeah, Ali G's all right. Like I feel like if we grew up in whatever part of London Ali G's from, we'd find it more funny.
Probably, yeah. I would agree. It's probably more of a. I think.
But he was the bad guy before even, or the same year Borat came out. He was the other race car driver in Talladega Nights.
Yeah, he's
Jean Girard.
Yeah, he's done a lot of films that, and he was supposed to be Freddie Mercury, but he had to step away because the film was basically written by the band that remained, and he wanted the film to be more about Freddie Mercury. At least that's what I had read, and so yeah, he backed out, and right choice or not, I think he. I think the film was fine either way, but I think he would have been great in that film. He was in Les Mis.
Yep.
He was in the what was that? The Butcher.
Oh, Sweeney Todd.
Like, he's been in a lot of films that he shows up and it's like, oh, okay.
He can sing too.
Yeah.
Like he's a
very talented
and married to Isla Fisher.
Isla Fisher, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got a lot of things coming up, although he did do a follow-up to this film that was done secretly during the pandemic.
I looked at the ratings for this. I think the ratings are too low. I thought this movie was really good.
This first one?
Especially because it
the second
came out during COVID.
Oh, the second one.
I don't think it's as good as the first because nothing will ever be as good, and people know who Borat is. They, whatever. But
and that's half the problem now is that he can't. Like, Borat is retired because he can't be him anymore.
Well, he had to dress up as other people in the second movie.
Yeah.
To hide himself, and then he got essentially a proxy, quote unquote, his daughter.
Yeah.
To kind of be that Borat-esque person.
Put people in uncomfortable situations and.
Yeah, but Rudy Giuliani. What's great though is it's a very pro-feminist film. If you've ever seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's still like Borat in it is still like, he's still Borat and he still has to like learn certain things, like not treating his dog like a dog. Sorry, not treating his daughter like a dog, right. For one. And by the end, they're like this really cute daughter and father team. And I don't know. I thought it was a really good movie for when it came out. I'm always kind of weird when sequels come out super later than whatever. But I don't know. I think the world needed Borat, especially if anything for the footage of Giuliani playing with his dick.
Yeah. And like, I know, like with that one, so like with this first film, he never broke character.
Mm-mm.
With the second one, there were a couple of times that he broke character. Mostly just like there's this when he goes into a temple, a Jewish temple, and talks to some people, and they're so nice and they're so kind to him, and he he kind of breaks and says, "Yeah, this is what's going on, just so you know." But then he also rushed in when Giuliani was about to do something to his co-star of the film, Maria Bakalova.
She's good in the movie.
She's amazing. Like, she was nominated for an Oscar for her role.
Yeah,
which is crazy. To think that this film was nominated. The first film was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, and this film was nominated for a couple of things. The Borat subsequent movie film.
I still have to watch there's like a short that came out, I don't know, maybe a month or two after the sequel was released. But I don't know. If there's a Borat film, whether it's streaming or in a theater or whatever, I'll go see it. Like, I like his style of comedy. I think he's, even when he's not doing Borat or, improv, like, he's a really good actor.
He is. He is a surprisingly good actor. I think it was like seeing him in Les Mis, seeing him in Sweeney Todd, seeing him take on more challenging roles. Then, like he had to become, like he had to be somebody who he didn't create. And just, he did well. And I will see more of his films. And, I don't know how much the director did. I mean, Larry Charles is, he was big in it with Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm. So he's very big on improv, like directing improv things. But I think this film is obviously very different. And actually, I think it was Todd Phillips was the original director, but he had to step out.
He's he was listed as a writer.
Yeah.
No, he got a story by.
Yeah, I think he part of that, but he didn't. He stepped out. I think just the differences and how to do stuff. And I'm not sure if he is more of a, I know he's done a lot of improv stuff because he did a lot of the other films that we've seen, but not to the Larry David level of having Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm. But yeah, this is a film. The way that I learned to really love this film, it made me want to see obviously the second film when that came out, and I saw that and I liked it. I was impressed by how he did it. I was impressed that he hasn't been killed. Knowing that part of the film he had to wear a bulletproof vest and other things. Because in the second one he goes to a pro-gun anti-mask rally and speaks, and it's like how he didn't get shot. Because you see footage of him like holding his body against the door of the RV as the crew is trying to get out of there as quickly as possible because he caused a riot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this has basically just been an hour of us talking about Sacha Baron Cohen, but you know what?
That's all right.
It's all right. He deserves it.
He deserves it.
Yeah. So
I mean, this is a movie that is from when we were actually alive. I'm sure if we came out or if we were born during, Arsenic and Old Lace, maybe we talk an hour about it.
Yeah.
But
now,
this is a movie that came out when we were impressionable and still somewhat young.
Now here's a question. Now, will this movie hold up? So now we've seen films that are, some of them are over 100 years old. Some of them are, 60, 70, 80 years old. So some of them have been around a long time. This film is from 2006. So it hasn't been around
almost 20.
Long. Yeah. Almost 20 years. Will this film hold up to this level in 40 years?
Yeah. I feel political comedies like this, also because like Borat was huge, and even you still hear freaking Borat quotes today. 50 years from now, you might not, but I do think it would still be on a list just from a perspective of if you know America's history and what we were going through, post 9/11, this is a good time capsule movie of what we were all going through and what some people were acting like. I'll stake my reputation on, it would be on this list. It may not be as low.
Yeah.
But I think it would still be on a top 100.
I just wonder how much footage of this is going to be pulled for in 100 years from now. It's like, what were What were people like back in the 2000s?
Oh, like if they like hacked and like there was like 5 movies that represented the world, and this was one of them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then the rest are like Ken Burn documentaries, so it's gonna be really depressing.
Right. Yeah, so I think it's clear we both really like this film. I had, kind of mixed feelings in seeing it because it's, again, I one thing I like about this list is we're seeing films that we've never seen and that we've wanted to see. But I'm glad I saw it again. I always think it's good to see it with fresh eyes, and I found it just as funny as I did.
It's a quick watch.
Yeah.
It's funny. And yeah, because it's so funny, it's an even quicker watch. It goes by fast.
Yep. It's a very tight film. I think when we talked about it, you're like, it's like a tight 90 minutes, and it really is.
Yeah. It really is a tight 90. I can't recommend this movie enough.
Yeah.
If you're a racist old white man, I probably won't recommend it to you.
If you're
maybe I will. Maybe you would learn something.
If you're one of those 3 guys in the RV with them, you might not want to watch it, especially with people who are just meeting you for the first time. Just saying.
I'll say one more funny thing I liked about it. The different ways his name was said. Like, besides his like full name, like nobody could pronounce his last name, but Bomb Hut or like barely anybody got Borat.
Yeah.
I don't know. This movie has so many good layers. It's just like a good layered cake with sweet buttercream between each tasty sponge layer. Sorry, I've also been watching The Great British Bake Off.
I get you now. I understand.
So now I'm mixing movies and TV shows.
Metaphors.
And metaphors.
I do have to say, like, I find this as basically being basically an improv film. Mm-hmm. And just getting the 100% buy-in of this character at least. Like the depth and the types of things that he brings out in this story of, culturally and where people are at and just getting people to talk about some of the terrible things that they talk about. Like, again, give credit a lot to Sacha Baron Cohen, but it's like this film does more. This is a satire. It's a little bit of a documentary. It's a little bit, there's a lot going on here. Like you said, there's a lot of layers, and I am still shocked that that this much depth has come out of this film.
Well, this type of either call it reporting or, deep dive into America, Daily Show has been doing this for years. Mm-hmm. Like what Sacha Baron Cohen did wasn't new at the time. He just did it so well.
He did it so well.
Somebody I would compare him to that's currently out there doing this all the time, Jordan Klepper from The Daily Show.
Well,
he's going to all those Trump rallies.
He is, but he's not I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of a character there, but not as much as Borat. Like he is going out there, but he is. Yeah,
he's not like a full like right wing QAnon character. Like He tried doing that. He tried doing the Colbert, which I like that show, but it didn't pan out. But I see what you're saying. But like as far as like getting those, because he still gets people to say stupid shit.
He does, and he goes and he asks the right questions to get them to say things. But like. I mean, and yeah, Borat does go to some rallies as well, and he does set up situations, but at the same time, like, man, just his commitment to the role is just unbearably. I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's so amazingly. How committed he is to to being this person. And just, not giving up.
Never give up. Trust your instincts.
Yep.
Should we wrap this up then?
Yeah. I was trying to get there, and I think we both talked about some good things there. So we both liked it. We both recommend it. Both find it so funny. So good job, BBC. You did it again. Our next film, we're going back to 1967. This is a big film for us, though, Chad.
When are we?
It's our first Mel Brooks film.
Oh, and it's a Mel Brooks film I haven't watched, so I'm excited.
It's our first Mel Brooks film. It's The Producers from 1967. It's an hour and a half long film. So I'm excited to see this. I have not seen this version at all. Gene Wilder is he is one of my favorite actors to be in a Mel Brooks film.
Just a great actor in general.
So I am excited. And we'll get to see who else we see and like, oh, that's the guy from that, or that's the girl that was in this. Oh my gosh, that connection is made. So I'm excited for this film. Sounds like neither one of us have seen it, but we both, I know, love Mel Brooks.
Oh yeah.
So I'm excited. We might have a guest with us on this one. I'm trying to work that out. So we'll see if it works with Mr. Brooks' schedule. So
and shout out to 65 Media.
Yeah, big thanks again. This is our third show with 65 Media. So you may be hearing us on Stitcher right now. If you like what you hear from this film review, we have 60 some other films that are in our back library.
We were doing this in a dumpster with some raccoons for about 60 episodes until we came to 6.5.
Yeah, we were with
but if you want to listen to those dumpster episodes, and not that they're dumpstered, that they're bad, it's just that's where the raccoons lived and had audio equipment where we could use to record our episodes.
It's amazing how soundproof those dumpsters they made them. They had all those egg cartons all over the place.
Such great acoustics in those dumpsters.
Yeah. So we have that, but there are a ton of other great shows to listen to that are part of the 65 Media, which may have brought you to us, which we thank those shows. Thank you for listening to them, and thank you for listening to us. All right, Chad, anything you want to say on the way out?
God loves a working man.
Don't trust Whitey.
See a doctor and get rid of it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you again for listening to the Film Illogical Society. If you'd like to listen to similar podcasts, please check out 65 Media on Stitcher, iTunes, and Facebook, or check out Redacted Media on Facebook or YouTube.